Hi, I'm Em.
And my name is Bea.
And this is
Fangirls Anonymous. A quick warning, this podcast is not for kids.
We get into some pretty explicit stuff.
But if you're still with us and into that, welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Em. How are you this fine day?
I am good. I said everybody because on the line we also have Ace-Din-Djarin. Welcome to the show, Ace-Din-Djarin.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for being here. You are our first guest in our writer series that we're planning on doing for the rest of forever.
Also our first guest this season.
Oh, true. Yes. You're our first guest this season. We're going to be talking to writers, Fick writers, about their craft. And we're very excited about it. And we're very excited about having you as our first writer. What's it like being the first writer?
It feels pretty cool. I've been listening to the podcast for a while, so it's very exciting to be on it. It's an honor.
Well, it's an honor to be talking to you right now because you are so good at what you do. You are a wonderful fic writer. So, we have some questions for you because this is an interview, but I just wanted to introduce you to our audience a little bit. Ace-Din-Djarin has over 20 works on AO3 in fandoms including Avatar: Last Airbender, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and, in my opinion, the most important, The Mandalorian. I got to know Ace through the Mandalorian fandom on Tumblr and through some Discord servers. So I think she writes wonderful Mandalorian fic, specifically Din-Luke fic. You haven't written any other ships, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I didn't see any, I don't think. But yeah, she has some great fics in all of those fandoms. If you're interested in any of those, go ahead and look her up. We will definitely have links in the show notes for everything that we talk about regarding Ace today. We have some questions. Are you ready to be questioned?
Ready.
What is the meaning behind your name, Ace-Din-Djarin? Besides the obvious.
So I actually went by a different username on Tumblr for over 10 years. It was Hey Look a Hufflepuff. So people may recognize that. I don't know. When I started writing fic this year, after all of the stuff with Rowling, I kind of wanted to distance myself a little bit from that. Not that I don't still love Harry Potter. It's complicated. I'm sure most people listening to this are aware.
Gotta love that death of the author.
Yeah.
She who shall not be named.
Yeah, so I started writing fic under that name, and then when I started on the Din-Luke fic, I realized I wanted to be a bigger part of this fandom specifically, which I never really have before. And so I wanted to change my username to reflect that. And I personally headcanon, I always say that weird, Din as Ace because I am Ace and I'm pretty vocal about that online, so I don't mind saying it. So he just feels very Ace to me. So that's why I changed it. And it's slightly different on Tumblr. It's got dashes, and on AO3 it's underscores because AO3 does not like dashes apparently. So
yeah, it's great headcanon. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense for the character, in my opinion.
It just works, I think.
Totally. It's a great pen name too. But I did say your name, like your pen name, in one of the in a separate interview for this show, and the person we were interviewing was like, "Oh, that's a great headcanon." I'm like, "No, actually, that's the name of a person." And they were like, "Oh." So that happened.
Could be both.
Definitely.
So I know that Em already gave us a little bit of an overview of some of the fandoms you write in, but knowing at least how I interact with fandom, I know that just because I participate in one, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only one or that I don't have plans on other ones. So if you had to pick the fandoms that you really think that you're like, yes, these are the ones that I go to, what would they be?
Well, definitely The Mandalorian and Star Wars. That's fairly new, though. I didn't watch The Mandalorian until like March of this year, I think. My other fics are Avatar, so probably definitely that one. I still, I very much, The Last Airbender, not the other movie.
Oh God.
Some older ones, definitely Harry Potter for sure. Not so much anymore, but I do still like it. that was definitely one of the foundation ones for me, I guess, as a teenager. And
Interesting.
Marvel, Marvel not so much anymore, just because it's so big now.
Yeah.
There's so much going on, but a lot of the older stuff, like I was very into, like, you know, right after the Avengers movie came out, and there was the team lives in the tower, and you know, they're all found family and all that. I was into that.
Every person on the team has their own level, and they're all stacked up on top of each
Yes,
other,
exactly.
and they all live together and eat Pop-Tarts with each other every morning.
Yep.
To return to simpler days.
Oh man, I miss it.
Oh, I was reading some of those fics the other day, and just, they really are so good.
Yeah, it's like, why couldn't we have had that in real life?
Yeah.
I guess we did,
Could
but
have
in
had it
word
all.
form only.
Yeah. That one was a big one for me for a while, was ship-wise, was Clint Coulson.
It is just amazing to me how big that ship is.
It is. It's very
It's
big.
huge. Isn't it like
Yeah.
the second largest, like when you consider how many fics there are on AO3? Isn't it the second largest Marvel ship?
It's
thought
a little
so.
bit further down. If you take out
Ah.
Stucky and Stony, it's probably in the top 2 or 3. But
Crazy to
Yes,
me.
yeah.
That's so cool.
But Stucky is so big. I do also ship
God,
Stucky.
I know.
For sure.
Yeah. Stucky's amazing.
Yeah, so probably, honestly, like, if we could just say the Avengers, and honestly Spider-Man, like, I know people have their issues with the Tom Holland movies, but personally I like them. I was never really into Spider-Man before that, so, like, the Sam Raimi movies. So that never really affected my enjoyment of the Tom Holland movies, so I like them. I'm not really one to, like, exclude a lot of things, so I really have, you know, no issues with people who don't like them or anything like that. I'm never going to be like, oh, you're wrong. You know, I just think that's a waste of time. So,
Oh, totally. Have you seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
I have. That one was awesome. I really liked that one a lot.
I tend to think that that's the best Spider-Man movie of all time, but if you're going to go for live action, I really think that the Tom Holland ones are the best, just because Tom Holland was able to be a great Spider-Man and a great Peter Parker.
Yes.
The other actors who played him in the previous films were either a good Spider-Man or either a good Peter Parker. They weren't both.
I think that's very true. Yeah, I think that's probably what it is, honestly. I don't know. There's something about Tom Holland that I think he really gets the character that I really like.
Yeah. I love how he plays a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old in the films, and yet he's older than me.
And yet he's still probably the youngest Spider-Man we've had in the movies, so.
I think so, yeah. He literally has. Hollywood, man. Hollywood.
Yeah.
So were there any other fandoms?
I'm sure there were, but I'm blanking right now.
Well,
when I was very young, there was like Twilight.
Yeah.
I'll admit.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it on here, but I gave the link to my old fanfiction.net account. It was about a decade in between when I was writing on there, when I last posted, and when I posted my first fic this year. So I've had a lot of growing time.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I will say that I did read it. You can see the seeds of who Ace-Din-Djarin as a writer was going to become, but it was a little bit rough, I will say. I mean, you were...
absolutely.
Do you mind telling us how old were you when you wrote that?
I want to say I was 15, around there.
It's pretty good for 15. Oh, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You put a lot of effort into it.
Never finished it. And I think I got, like, a year or two ago, I think I got like a message from someone asking me to finish it, and I don't even know what I was planning for that fic.
Wow.
But it was very flattering. I do have some Harry Potter fics on there that I think are better, but still, you know, not wonderful.
Was that the only Twilight fic you wrote?
I think so. I read a lot of them, but I think that was the only Twilight one I ever wrote.
Yeah.
I probably had other, you know, whips that have gone extinct now.
What was the first fic you ever read?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I remember that.
Were you quite young when you started?
I think so. Okay, so on FF.net there is a fic. It's actually like original fiction, because I think as a kid I didn't quite understand. I was probably 14 when I posted it. I think that was the first one I ever did. It was like mermaid I don't remember exactly.
It was mermaids.
I was very into the Little Mermaid. Yeah, it was mermaids. I was very into the Little Mermaid when I was younger. Like both the Disney movie, but also like Hans Christian Andersen and really any like mermaid tale I could get my hands on.
Interesting.
And so it's one of those, like, it wasn't intentionally, but it's a lot like, well, yeah. Did you ever read the Tale of Emily Winsnap books? They're,
Oh
like,
my
young
god,
readers.
yes. Those
Yeah.
are the only mermaid
Okay.
books I ever read. But my friend let me borrow them, and then, oh man, those are really good.
They were, and I was very into them. I still very much like mermaids, but I want to say the very first one that I ever wrote, it wasn't like intentionally a fan fiction of that, but it was that same kind of concept, if I remember correctly, which it's been like 12 or 13 years, I think, but it was kind of a girl is a mermaid and she doesn't know it and then finds out, and then I don't know where I was going with it, but I think that's where it started. So the first ones I read were probably mermaid adjacent. I don't know. And then I was very into Harry Potter, I know, and Twilight, and Glee, actually. Glee was big. I forgot about Glee.
Oh my god.
You're
Glee
like
was
dredging
huge.
up all of these memories. I got into Glee because of Darren Criss. So.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense. B, I have never asked you what your first fic it was. If you remember.
If you have, I have no memory of it. Like, I could take a stab in the dark, but I don't...
Do you remember the fandom that it was in?
Spitballing, it was probably somewhere in the Avengers, but it could also have been Teen Wolf or Voltron.
Really? Voltron?
I sort of bounced around a little bit.
Huh.
The first one that I definitely sit down and read, well, okay. There's one that I read because if you ever, like, do you ever see things from a fandom, like on Tumblr or something, and people start referencing just one fic a lot, and there's, like, art for it, and you're just like, okay, now I gotta know what yeah, so this was deep in the Super Hulock days. And
oh no.
I ran across a bunch of different posts that were about Alone on the Water, which is a Sherlock fic, and if you were in the fandom, you probably heard of it. It's a little one-shot, super tragic. Basically, Sherlock gets terminal brain cancer and dies, and Watson is very sad. It's heartrending and well-written, and I was like, okay, I gotta know what this is. So I read it, and then didn't read anything for a long time. So maybe that one, but it's possible I kind of stumbled across something else before then that I've forgotten.
Yeah, my first fic, my mother was like, here, read this, and it was a Twilight fanfiction.
Oh my gosh.
I know. We got into it a little bit in a different episode in season 1, but yeah, no, it's crazy. That's so funny. So Sherlock, mermaids, and Twilight. I love that for us. Fascinating. I had no idea about that, B, and that's very cool, Ace.
Segueing off of that, you were talking a little bit about some of the first stuff that you were writing, and that you kind of had a period of writing, and then there was a gap, and then you've gone back to writing. Feel free to answer for each time period as you were, but, like, why did you start writing? Was it different each time? Was it the same sort of a thing? Give us a little bit of your thought process for, like, what got you into it in the first place.
I don't really remember why I first started writing when I was younger. I've always been a really voracious reader. I always had a book. I actually the only time I've ever been grounded was when it was in middle school, and I actually got grounded for reading in class, which sounds ridiculous, but it's because
happened to me.
Oh, okay, I'm not alone.
Dude, I'll do you one better. When I got grounded, my mom specifically told me I couldn't bring any books to school at all. That was my punishment.
Oh, okay. Ouch.
Literally, though, like, I would go to the Goodwill and, like, get a purse, and it was a good purse or not, depending on how many books it could hold. Like, yes. That was my childhood and teenage years. Anyway, you are not alone in any of this, Ace. Please go on.
Yeah, so, I always read a lot, and so I wanted to, I guess, try my hand at writing. I remember once when I was like 7, we were on a family road trip to, sorry, we did an RV trip twice in my life, and I'm trying to remember. We went to Canada once, and then we went to Yellowstone, whichever one has the geyser.
Yeah, that's
the second
Yellowstone.
time. Yes, thank you. I don't remember which one, but I remember I had this mermaids again. I had this book of mermaid tales from around the world that I still have and I still love. I was copying the Hans Christian Andersen one word for word. I don't remember. I don't know why, but I was into a notebook like on that like in the RV while we're driving around. I remember that, like writing it down into like a composition book. I think I wanted to write my own story, but I didn't know how. And for some reason, I was just like, I'm going to copy this down. I don't know. I don't know. So I guess I kind of always wanted to write, but
I don't mean to interrupt, but what's
good.
funny about that is that you and I are both into fountain pens.
Yes.
Which is cool.
It's pretty recent for me, but
I really haven't met another person who also loves fountain pens and fan fiction, so it's an amazing intersection of likes. Basically, people who love fountain pens, sometimes when they want to like use a particular ink that they have or a particular pen a lot, they rewrite books. You were doing what people do all the time with pens, and I have done it. I rewrote Maniac McGee, which was one of my favorite books when I was a kid.
Book.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great book. It's about baseball and raysism and family and found family and horror and love and it's so good. Anyway. I just want to let you know that you were doing something that people do all the time.
And now that I think, I mean, okay, I was 7, so I could very well be making this up, but I want to say it was like a glitter pen or something. So it probably was like, I just wanted to, see the glitter. But yeah, so, I was getting into fandom when I was younger. So it's weird because I have 3 siblings and none of them are into fandom in the same way. It's kind of funny because it's such a fundamental part of my life now that I'm like, how do you consume this stuff without, being a part of fandom? So, I was the only one who was like reading fan fiction and eventually writing it and stuff. And so it was always kind of hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was more of a thing when we were younger, that it was, okay, I don't want to say my exact age. I'm in my late 20s.
Yeah.
So it was, mid 2000s into the teens when I was younger, and it was more secret. So it was, I think it was just kind of one of those things that I just started doing on my own, I guess. And then for now, I got into it because of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because, the series was added on Netflix, and my husband had never seen it. He had heard about it. His younger brother was into it, but he had never really watched it, only like a few episodes. And so I was like, you're really going to like this. We should watch it together. And he did. He really liked it. And we were watching what was it? What was it called? I think it's called The Boy and the Iceberg, where it's in the 3rd book, the 3rd season, when they are on
Boy and the
Ember
Iceberg
Island.
Is the first episode.
Okay. Maybe I missed it.
Is it Ember Island Players?
It's when they go and see the play that basically summarizes the
Ember Island
series.
Players. Yeah.
Okay, I think I got that wrong then. Anyway, so I was watching that, and it was a little snippet of, there's a part where Zuko and Toph are sitting in the like lobby or something, like during intermission, and the little boy runs up and tells Zuko that his costume's good, but he's got a scar on the wrong side. and Zuko yells that it's not on the wrong side, and I started thinking about, well, does Toph even know he has a scar? Because she doesn't react to that at all, and she wouldn't know unless he had told her. So then I'm like, when did he tell her? And so it ended up being one of those. There's literally a tag for it on AO3 that Zuko tells the gang about his scar.
Oh, wait. For people who are listening and don't know Avatar, Toph is blind.
Yes, sorry, I should have said that. Yeah, Toph is blind, so she wouldn't have any idea, because she's got like that sonar thing with her earthbending, but I don't think that shows like physical features. It just shows people's bodies or whatever.
That's an excellent question that you bring up.
It is, though. It is.
Yeah, so we were watching that, and it was literally like, she wouldn't know this, but she's not reacting, so he must have said something to her, or someone else did, like describing Zuko to her. And so that was the first one that I wrote this year.
Oh, okay. There's really good fan art online of Aang and Katara deciding to go and murder Ozai.
But yeah, so that was the first one that I did. And actually, I think, not to derail, but I want to say that this episode is coming out on the year-to-date anniversary of that first fic being posted, which is pretty neat. So
That is so amazing. It's just so amazing to me. Yeah. January 29th. That was the first fic that you published in 2020. And basically the first fic that you started publishing as like an actual, like, this is something I do as a hobby. That's so cool. It's so serendipitous.
it really is.
What is your favorite trope to write? And then after that, what is your least favorite trope? And I would expect you to not write that one.
Favorite, I do gravitate towards, I want to say I gravitate towards like hurt, comfort, and angst, but also a lot of fluff.
Mm.
Well, I think that's why I like hurt, comfort, because you get all the hurt and then you get the fluffiness of the healing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really fun to write.
Everybody listening to this knows that I am a whore for hurt comfort. It has been a little while since
Me
I've said
too.
that phrase. I needed to reiterate it. I am a whore for hurt comfort. Anyway, go on.
You're good. Yeah, I have an immense amount of bookmarks on AO3, and probably the majority of them include hurt, comfort, or angst in there in some capacity.
Yeah.
And then least favorite, I don't know if it counts as a trope, but one of the only things that squicks me out is ABO. No hate to anyone who likes it. It's just not for me. So I don't know if that would count as a trope, but
I would consider it a trope.
okay. Yeah, so definitely one of those.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. It is definitely not for everybody. We are planning on doing a series on ABO this season.
I mean, I'm interested to to listen, because I don't know a lot about it because I tend to avoid it. I just know it's not my thing, but
yeah, totally.
To each their own.
Of course, yeah. It's definitely out there. Maybe not within fandom circles, but if you try to explain it to literally anybody outside of fandom, they're just going to look at you like you're freaking crazy.
You might be able to get away with some speculative fiction authors. They'd be like, oh yeah, this is an alien planet, right? Alternative society. And you're like, yep, that's
sure.
definitely what it is.
Let's go with that.
I'm assuming, given the givens, that you are still in the process of writing some things. So what is something that you're really excited to be writing or to get out there soon?
So this is actually where it's really fun, because M is actually my beta, and she is phenomenal, let me just say. Absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you.
So we actually have a couple different things that we're working on. I have so many whips, to be honest.
Like you and everybody else, it's okay.
yeah, I'm sure. But two of the ones that we're most excited about are Far Across the Distance, which is a Dinluke Titanic AU.
Oh,
and
it just sounds
we
so
have
good.
Yeah. It's honestly been so fun to write, and we have just gotten to the ship just hit the iceberg where we are right now in writing, so that's going to be fun.
Do you mind if I tell the audience how it came to be?
Go ahead, yeah.
Coincidentally, I was on Tumblr one day and I found a little snippet of a fic that you wrote, and I DM'd you.
Yeah.
Or no, I actually it was like the thing underneath the post you can write in the notes.
Yeah, it was in the notes.
It was in the notes. I was just like, oh my god, can you please put this on AO3 so that I can rec it? And I did eventually in season 1. So I can rec it for my podcast? And you were like, yeah. I can totally do that.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
What was your reaction to that? That's so weird, probably.
No, I thought it was amazing. I was like, oh my god.
Well,
I was very flattered.
Not only was the writing really good, and the hurt comfort was chef's kiss magnificent, but at the time, I had kept wrecking really long fics, and I really wanted to find something that was newer and short. So it was perfect. And that's why I was just like, can I please put on A3 so it's easy for me to link it on my show notes? Anyway, we had started a conversation because of that, and you were like, I think it was the next day, you were like, hey, so it looks like you're real interested in Dinluke. Would you be interested in coming onto this Dinluke's Discord server? And there's a prompt section. And I, since March of 2020, in my head, I was like, Dinluke Titanic AU, Dinluke Titanic AU, Dinluke Titanic AU. And I am not a writer. I'm not. I'm a great editor, but I am not a writer whatsoever. And I really needed to find somebody to write it. And hopefully let me beta it, because a lot of people don't like betas. I put it out there, not really expecting anything on that prompts tab, and you, the person who invited me, was like, hey, I want to write this. are you going to let me write this? And I was like, yeah, please write this. This is amazing. Thank you. So you let me beta, and it was just, oh my gosh, it's been the best writing that with you, because like I had the idea and now it exists. That's amazing. It's amazing to me. Creation is crazy.
And it's been so fun.
It has been so fun. Yeah.
I've never written an AU like this before, where never written one that crosses over with other media, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
So it's been very exciting.
It's the Titanic film. It's not like we created a story.
Yeah.
we're using specific beats from that film, but
yeah, trying not to do 100% exact, but it does end up kind of following it, because just Titanic in and of itself has very distinct things that are happening in the story.
Absolutely.
Like the ship sinking.
It's not crazy like the film, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
I tried
definitely
not to make it identical.
No, yeah. I don't think we did.
I hope not.
But I think that you'll be surprised with the character decisions we made, actually. But anyway, if you do read it, it will be in the show notes. But are we on chapter?
We're working on chapter 6. There's 5 chapters
working on
right
chapter
now.
6. Yeah.
The next one was like I've said, I tend to write shorter things. Far Across the Distance is actually the longest posted fic I have so far. I think just because there's multiple chapters, but it's just under 18,000. And so I wanted to challenge myself and write something longer. And so I decided to do Nanowrimo, which, for people who don't know, stands for National Novel Writing Month, which is when you write 50,000 words in the month of November. And so decided to do that. And this is actually kind of exciting because it is still a whip, but M is also betaing that for me. And
happily.
It is
such a good fic.
Thank you. We're probably at 53 or 54,000 right now. It's definitely going to be longer, but
crazy.
But just the fact that it's this long is astounding to me because, like I said, most of my stuff is pretty short. So it's been really fun actually, figuring out a plot, different scenes and things. And that's been awesome. And we're crazy and we already have ideas for a sequel. So
it's so good. Can you entice the listeners a little bit with what it's going to be about? Just a little bit, not too in depth or anything, but
sure. I'm hoping it'll be posted by the time this show comes out, and
yeah,
so,
hopefully, but we can't bank on it.
Be like, "Oh, that sounds good," and run and read it. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting to try to describe. But the basis of it is that it is a Dinluke bodyguard AU, and it is I like saying loosely medieval inspired fantasy AU.
Yeah.
We're mixing a lot of things into there. It's still Star Wars, but basically we've turned the galaxy into one land, one world, Earth, not Earth, planet, whatever. In a bunch of different lands. I'm not describing this well.
No, let's just say that a little fun, enticing detail. The whole land mass that all of these nations are in, we've called Soon Weir, which is Old English for Sun War. So we've put a lot of detail and thought into the world building of this fic, and
created a map.
I created a map, yeah. Which will be on there. I think it looks pretty good, but I don't know. It's one of my first maps. I did cartography a little bit when I was in middle school, and I loved it, but I haven't done it since. So
I think it looks awesome, and I'm very excited. But yeah, it was actually inspired by one of those like viral prompt posts that people send on Tumblr. Yeah, it was Sari Sick. That's how I say it in my head. I had answered that in like July about, it was one of those, what would you do if you wrote this fic? And so I kind of wrote an outline of what I would write. And then someone liked it in like September, and I saw popped up in my Tumblr notifications again, and I was like, oh, that would be a good idea, and then fleshed it out. Yeah, so as, M said before, I tend to write shorter fics, and I want to say Far Across the Distance is the longest I have published so far, at least while we're recording this. So I wanted to challenge myself with NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. Write 50,000 words in November, which was quite an undertaking.
It was huge. So it was so big. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they did for me on that one too. And it was amazing because sometimes I would literally just be like, "Hey, good morning. By the way, I have this idea." Like just steamroll ahead.
And I would wake up and I'd be like, "Okay, this is how we fix it."
Yeah. Because we're also a couple hours apart with the time difference, so sometimes I would be, texting and then Em wouldn't be up yet, and it would be like, yeah, you're gonna wake up to like 20 messages, sorry.
It was so fun. November was so fun because of that, because like it was
fun.
I love figuring out plots. That's one of my favorite things to do, actually.
Which is awesome because I needed a lot of help with that because I write, shorter stuff. I don't have to plot things out that are super long. And then this one is over 50,000 now. It did actually meet the word goal, which was astonishing to me, but I did it.
You did it. And you won Nano.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think I would have if it wasn't for you, because you kind of kept me like accountable, which was amazing.
I'm going to cry. Wow. I feel honored. I bet you could have done it.
I mean, maybe. I have a very bad history of, and I don't know if this is my ADD or what, I have a very bad history of starting projects and then not finishing them. Like I have probably 3 different crochet projects right now that I haven't finished yet. All sorts of things, throughout my life just have gotten picked up and put down again. So I feel like maybe that would have happened, maybe not, because it is a very interesting story, but I don't think it would be nearly, I also don't think it would be nearly as interesting of a story if it wasn't for all of the brainstorming we've done together.
We did amazing work.
Ideas.
We're really hyping up this fic.
Yeah. I hope it's out by the time this.
And if it's not, it should only be a couple more weeks after, I think. But
yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, yeah, it definitely needs some more work, but I'm very excited for it.
It's such a wonderful idea. Like when you told me, you were texting me and you were like, "Hey, I'm doing this nano fic, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Do you need a beta?" And you were like, "Yeah, actually, would you mind betaing?" Basically, like I just got to all November, I got to like bask in the limelight of somebody doing nano without having to do nano. So thank you.
Yeah, some days it was great and some days it felt like pulling teeth, which I think is probably pretty standard for nano, but
I think that's why you do it, right? That's the exercise of nano.
Yeah.
And it also allows you to, I've never done it so I can't say, but I'm assuming it allows you to like recognize what you can do if you decide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think so, because I definitely was like, oh, I don't know if I can write a fic this long. I never have before. I've never tried.
Yeah.
And the one that I have tried with Far Across the Distance, it's definitely, it's taken longer than I was expecting. Part of that was, it was fun because we had chapter 5 almost done. And then Nano started, and so we got delayed. And then it was like the second weekend of Nanowrimo, I think, that we were like, okay, we need to get this out.
So we can like focus on Nano.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that was fun. So actually, technically, if you count, that too, you wrote more than 50,000.
You definitely wrote probably 55K in a month.
Probably. Yeah, because that was a pretty long chapter.
It was a long chapter. If you posted immediately when we were when November was done, it would have been if you included that random chapter from the Titanic Dinluke fic, it would have been 55K. in the middle of this medieval bodyguard AU.
Yeah.
Titanic Dinluke.
Got to keep it fresh. Change it up.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I really hope that people enjoy it. It's been really fun figuring out how to translate everything. It is an all human AU, but that's been really fun because Ahsoka is a part of it. Not to spoil it, but I love her.
It has all of the characters people love reading about in Mandalorian fic, I would say.
Yes, pretty much, yeah. And some of them are not there yet, but we're already kind of crazy, and we're coming up with a sequel. So if they're not in the first one, they're probably going to be in the second one.
Absolutely going to be in the second one. Maybe I'll do a map for that one too, with all of the different clans and stuff for Mandalore.
Yeah, because in this one, I don't think it spoils much, but Mandalore is an island. Mm-hmm. So we can, maybe we can like focus on just Mandalore as an island, because the second one,
They're planning on
you
going to
probably guessed
Mandalore.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun.
It's so cool. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Anyway, if
I'm
people don't
very
like
excited.
Din Luke or anything like this, they're just going to be like, what is even happening right now?
But I kind of hope it's one of those that if you're even just a little bit into The Mandalorian or Star Wars, that I hope that people would be able to read it, even if they don't necessarily ship Din Luke. Because it's not going to be like, it's a slow burn, I will say. It's not going to be super duper like heavy on the Din Luke.
It's the slowest of slow
first,
burns,
so.
actually, I would say.
Yeah.
It's like falling in love over an adventure kind of slow burn, which tend to be the slowest.
It's more about the adventure.
I'm so excited for it. It's such a good fic already, and I'm grateful that I actually get to read it right now. And edit it. It's so cool. Anyway.
Edit it wonderfully.
Oh, well, thank you. Do you have a work that you are most proud of, and why is that the one you're most proud of?
Yeah, so definitely probably the one I'm most proud of is probably Like the Dawn, which is a Din Luke soulmate AU, which before Far Across the Distance was the longest one I had ever posted. It's almost 15,000 words. And it's just a one shot. That one it's part of a series, but just the first one is a one shot. That one is it's a soulmate AU, and it's it's not everyone's cup of tea. I know not everyone likes soulmates, but that one was really fun because it was kind of a challenge it kind of follows Luke and Din through their lives. So for Luke, it starts at A New Hope, and it kind of follows him through the trilogy, and then after, and then until The Mandalorian, and then a little bit after that.
So what's the trope? How do people know each other's soulmates?
So they have in this one they have their first words to each other written on their skin.
Okay.
And the location varies per person. And then I added this thing that I don't know if it translates so well, but that basically as your relationship grows, vines grow from the words, just because I like the visual.
Wow, I haven't heard of that one before.
Yeah, I think I made that part up, but the first words to each other thing is not.
No. Yeah, that's famous.
New,
that's a famous soulmate.
Yeah,
trope.
And it's fun because so I'm assuming that people on here either don't care about spoilers or know anyway who are listening to this, but the Luke and Din's first words to each other in the season 2 finale are kind of fun because it's literally Din asks Luke, "Are you a Are you a Jedi? Are you a Mandalorian? Are you a Jedi?" And Luke says, "I am," which is just hilarious. Oh God, not to segue, but when we watched my husband and I when we watched that one, he has seen Star Wars. I have shown him Star Wars, but he doesn't remember it very well because he didn't grow up with a lot of the pop culture stuff. He moved to the U.S. when he was younger, so he I've been catching him up on some American pop culture stuff, and so we were watching, and he knows Star Wars vaguely. But he asks when Luke comes out of the fog. He asks, "Is that Han Solo?"
So close. So very close.
Yeah, it's so far away.
It was adorable, and I had to pause and laugh for a while, but
oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So he's kind of like Din in that he doesn't quite understand the plot of the Star Wars, but
oh my God, that is the most Din thing.
Yeah.
Besides, "Are you a Jedi?"
And yeah, it was great. But so that's their first words to each other. So they're kind of goofy, I mean, literally, it's "Are you a Jedi?" Like,
and it's "I am," which is like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Poor Din.
Yeah. So I had to kind of play on that. And so for Luke, and this is like literally the first line of the fic, is that he can't read his words because they're in Mandoa.
Oh,
which is the Mandalorian language.
Makes
which
sense.
There's a written. Yeah, so then he can't read it, and no one else has been able to read it, and so he doesn't know what it says, which I thought was kind of fun because then you still get the whole like what's a Jedi thing in A New Hope.
Here I was really excited for baby Luke being like excited to be mistaken for a Jedi and thinking his whole life he's not one, but everybody thinks he's one, and just like planning to like parlor tricks or something to make him be more Jedi-like.
I do really love that idea a lot.
B, you need to write it right now.
I had a twinge of that of like lost it, but but that was so fun because I got to write Din like before the Mandalorian TV show, you know, like what was it like for him
Yeah.
before that point, which was fun. And there is actually a scene that someone said anyway that they hadn't seen anyone else do that I hadn't realized, but Din actually goes back to Akvatina, which is his home planet that got destroyed by the droids.
I haven't read anything like that. I've read a lot of Din fic, and I haven't seen that before either.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Which I hadn't actually realized it was new.
It is.
I don't know. People will talk about it, but it's not a very long scene, but he does go back.
Just the concept I haven't seen.
But yeah, it was fun to write, and there's actually another whip, because I have a lot of whips.
Yeah.
That is, I also ship Cody Wan, which is Commander Cody and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So there's actually it's in the same universe, the same soulmate universe, one that I'm writing with the two of them.
So we've talked a lot about things that you have written. So what is something that you've always wanted to write but haven't gotten to yet?
Well, we talked about some of, you know, our favorite fandoms, and I definitely have some whips that are not Din Luke or Avatar.
Really?
That I don't know if I'll ever publish. It's been a while since I've worked on them because I've been focusing so much on Din Luke, but there's a few for Daredevil, because I love Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was one episode, actually, it was, you know, several back, that Bea, you recommended one, oh gosh, Red in Tooth and Claw, but that's actually one of my favorites, where Matt is like a were-cat. That's one of my favorite fics in that fandom, so that was fun.
Do you ship Matt and Foggy?
I do.
Nice. Yeah.
I do, very much.
Nice.
Yeah, I definitely, there's a lot that I can read, you know, platonic stuff, but I do tend to like them shipped together. So I've got some of those. I've got a few Spider-Man ones, I think, at least one. There's one Harry Potter one, actually, but that was kind of just like a scene that was in my head, so I wrote it down.
I'm really interested in the Spider-Man ones. I want to see how you write Spider-Man.
Okay. It's kind of one of those, like, what the academic decathlon squad, like, knows or figures out he's Spider-Man. So
is it Jen?
Yeah, it's Jen. Yeah.
I love Jen. You write such good Jen. I just read your one of your Avatar ones.
Oh yeah, that one. That one's really popular, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That was a good fic, and it's not even finished. It's 3 out of question mark.
Still working on it. But yeah, my mind got taken over by
of course,
Jaren and Luke Skywalker.
No problem. No problem with that at all, in my opinion. But what platforms do you prefer and why? I know you love AO3 and you put stuff on there, but you definitely wrote on FFNet too, right?
Yeah, I think AO3 I think is just much better in terms of being a writer because you have all of the tags. Because FF.net, unless they've changed it, because I haven't been on much for a while, I don't think they have. But you can only tag to, like angst and hurt comfort or.
Yeah, that's still the same.
That is so sad.
Yeah, it's pretty restrictive. And their descriptions, I think, have a word count, if I remember correctly. Like, you can only do a certain amount of words.
I think they still do.
Okay. Yeah, and I remember I found that pretty restrictive even when I was younger. And so that is something that I really like about AO3 is their tagging system. So that makes it really nice because you can really specify. And if you don't want to, you can choose the, author chose not to use archive warnings, which I think I did for Far Across the Distance because I don't want to spoil anything for it. I like that a lot. So AO3 is probably the best. I actually do kind of like posting on Tumblr. It's harder because it's harder to keep track of everything that's on there.
True, but if you hadn't, we wouldn't have become friends.
That's true. I think I like Tumblr because it's much easier, obviously, to share fics, like, to share them to other people. You can obviously reblog and tag people in them if you want, or...
Sorry, it's easier to share shorter fics on Tumblr.
Yes, yeah, if they're longer, I think that's tough.
Yeah, really
but
tough.
Since I tend to write shorter things, I think that is easier. Like I have a fic on AO3 that's called Din Luke Drabbles that are basically just little. They're not really drabbles because I grew up thinking that the word drabble was really just any kind of short fic, but I guess it's like specifically 100 words, but I never used it that way. But Din Luke Drabble rolls off the tongue pretty well, so.
It does, yeah.
Those are just a bunch of shorter fics that I've posted on Tumblr, and then I post like as a new chapter in that fic. Kind of works for both because then they're curated on AO3, but they're also on Tumblr, which people tend to. I have a writer's tag, which is just a Hufflepuff writes, So then, they can click in that tag, and then anything that's obviously tagged with that. Sometimes I get little sprees of people going through like the different drabbles that I've written, which is fun. So.
Yeah, the fic that I commented on, it was called Our Arms Unbound, right? Was that the one? It was the one where Luke is hostage and tortured and then Din.
That was Flee the Fire That Devours. I have a very similar one with Din that is with Our Arms Unbound.
My bad.
Oh, you're good. They're very similar, and they're in the same. I put them all in the same series, so if you find one, you find the others. So
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll make sure to link all of these below. Cool. So you prefer AO3?
Yeah, I never really was into like LiveJournal or anything when I was younger.
Yeah.
It was really just FF.net, Tumblr, and AO3, and I think AO3 is the best for fics for sure.
So I guess this is a good kind of a wrap-up question, and feel free to expound upon this at length. If you had to pick something that you love about being a fic writer, what would it be?
I really like just the enthusiasm that people have, and I think that's part of being in fandom in general, but just I think this is inspired by being like, say, in the Discord server and stuff, but just people get so excited for new chapters, and just they leave lovely comments, and even if they don't, just knowing that people are happy because of something that I wrote, I think is really, really lovely. And it's obviously great when people tell you that, because then for sure that they like what you've written. But just kudos and likes, and just I don't know, it's just it's really neat knowing that somewhere out there in the world someone is reading something that I've written, which is pretty neat. I think that's kind of my favorite part about fandom in general, is just that it's very collaborative, or it can be, and it's very much a community, and you can find like-minded people anywhere.
This is a just for fun question. This one, feel free to be as silly as you'd like. If you had to pick between never writing more than 5,000 word fics ever again, or having to always have your fics be in the genre of hurt comfort.
Probably the hurt comfort, because I think most of them fit in there anyway in some capacity. So.
It's true. Maybe not Jen,
there's always at least,
but...
I think, a scene of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, hurt comfort's the best. Okay, that was our final silly question. Thank you so much for being on this show with us and answering all of our questions and being a wonderful writer, and for being our first person on this series. So exciting.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Rec Corner! Rec Corner is literally all of the stuff we just talked about.
Yeah.
Ace has one, though, that you wanted to talk about, right, specifically? I think you did talk about it, though, earlier.
Yeah, I did. It was Like the Dawn. But I guess I can talk about the other two in this series.
Yeah, sure.
So the series is Through the Deep Dark Valley, which I tend to kind of go for like song lyrics for titles. And all of those are the Oh Hellos. Yeah, the first one was Like the Dawn, which is the song Like the Dawn. And then the second one is called Take My Hand and Set Me Free, which I don't remember which song that's from, I'll admit. But that one is specifically an exploration of Din being asexual and how he feels about that, and in the context of his relationship with Luke. And you can read it apart from the soulmate thing. It mentions it a little bit just in terms of like that's how they got together, but you can read it apart from that. You don't really have to read the soulmate thing if it's not your cup of tea. It doesn't talk about it a lot. But because I had written one that was spicy, where he was demi, and I wanted to explore it outside of an explicit context, just how he felt about being asexual. And a lot of that is really just me sitting there and going, how do I feel about being asexual, and putting that on a page. So it was very introspective-y, and it may not fit everyone's experience with being asexual, but I have had a couple people who say it's very cathartic, which is nice. And then the third one is called Like Constellations, which is a big headcanon. Sorry, I've said that for 15 years at this point.
It's fascinating that you say headcanon. Like,
I don't know why.
Okay.
I know it's canon. I say canon. I don't say canon, but I say headcanon. I don't know why. But the headcanon for me is that the armorer is Din's, as you say in Mandoa, Bweir, which is parent. Probably said that wrong, but which that's going to be in the Bodyguard AU, by the way. But
Yes.
so I like I like her being his parent, his mother, and so in like Constellations, it's basically it's meet the in-laws. It's Luke gets to meet the armorer and some of Din's covert, which is fun, and he and Paz fight because of course. So that one was fun to write.
I just love it when fic writers bring like in the Star Wars universe, having like familial stuff that happens that everybody knows about in our world, but putting it in the Star Wars world, that's so fun to me. I just love it when that happens. Like courting, meeting the in-laws, marrying, like that kind of stuff. It's just so fun.
I tend to, obviously, I write Din Luke, but I tend to really like a lot of Jen stuff too. So even if they're shipping in the story, I tend to also really like the Jen like interactions and stuff between people. So I gravitate towards that a lot too. So that one has a lot of that, and it was very fun to write too with the Paz and Luke sparring. So
I hope everybody reads it. Ace is just like a wonderful writer. I might be a little bit skewed in my opinion because I am her beta, but alas, I really do think she's wonderful. And I think we're done. This has been great. Thank you very much for being on here with us.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It's been wonderful to hear you talk about your experience as a writer. I'm super excited to see how this series shapes up, knowing that it went this well.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to more. Thank you so much.
Well, I guess we'll see y'all next week on
Fangirls Anonymous. Bye!